Greetings and welcome to the ElectraMeccanica Vehicles Conference. It is now my pleasure to introduce your host, Chief Financial Officer and Executive Director of the Board, Val Bueller. Thank you, Mrs. Bueller. You may begin.
Thanks, Paul. Welcome and thank you everyone for joining me in ElectraMeccanica's virtual presentation. My name is Val Bueller and I am the Chief Financial Officer and Director of ElectraMeccanica. I joined ElectraMeccanica just under 2 years ago. Very briefly about myself, I've got my designations in both accounting and risk management. I have over 25 years of experience in both publicly traded and private companies that I have owned or ran at an executive level or at a board level. The industries I've been involved in are in technology, manufacturing, automotive, e-commerce, resource, energy, transportation, and health and wellness. I've been involved in everything from initial public offerings, reverse takeovers, corporate accounting, capital fundraising, investor relations, corporate governance, regulatory, risk management, insurance, product development, marketing, and much more. In terms of today's presentation, the highlights that we'll be covering is a company overview. We'll be talking about Solo Drive and then the evolution of the Solo specs in itself, the true cost of ownership in comparison to other vehicles, our growing EV market, and then we talk about the Solo ecosystem and the solutions that provides, along with a launch and strategic rollout and marketing strategy, a path to profitability, our company stock and financial information, and then some key takeaways. This is our forward-looking disclaimer. ElectraMeccanica is a Canadian designer and manufacturer of electric vehicles. We are redefining transportation. We are the future and we are revolutionizing Solo Drive from urban commuting, delivery, and shared mobility. We see ourselves as a Solo revolution, which are true disruptors in this space. We are unique, dynamic, and incomparable in 3 distinct ways from our peers and others in the sectors when it comes to our flagship single-seat, 3-wheeled Solo and the Solo ecosystem that we have created. And this year, we are planning for the Solos. They're going to be delivered this year, so it's an exciting time for us. 3 ways that I was talking about how we're incomparable and unique from others around us. One is that our product, the Solo, is very unique and comparable because it provides an exciting driving experience. It's unique, it's trendy, it's fun, it's affordable, and it's environmentally friendly. It is a purpose-built vehicle. Again, as I mentioned before, we're redefining and revolutionizing transportation in every aspect, as an urban commuter to the commercial applications like fleets, deliveries, to car share, to utility vehicles. Solo Drive is the future and it's here to stay. The second reason why our product, the Solo, is so unique and incomparable is how we produce it. We have an asset-light manufacturing model with Zhongshan, who is our strategic partner and also known as one of the largest motorcycle manufacturers in the world. So they understand mass scale production and scalability. The third reason why we're incomparable and unique is how we're launching the Solo. The Solo is being launched through a detailed strategic marketing and advertising plan and through kiosk retail stores where we test locations before we sign up longer-term leases. We have a highly experienced management team with significant beneficial ownership of around 28%. We're headquartered in Vancouver, Canada. We have a service and distribution center in Studio City, LA. We've got 4 wholly owned subsidiaries, 2 US subs, 1 Canadian subsidiary, and 1 wholly owned foreign entity. So we talk about solo drive, and this is what I was talking about in our previous, in the previous slide. Solo drive is something that we have created. It is a niche market. So if you take a look at two bookends, one on your left-hand side, which is micromobility, which includes scooters and bikes, which lack safety and protection features. You're exposed to the elements, and it's got minimal technology with limited range. On the right side, if you think of the passenger EV vehicles, which are expensive and have a higher cost of ownership, they've got an oversized powertrain, and majority of the time you've only using one seat, which is 76% of the time, and you've got to have a level 2 or 3 dedicated charging infrastructure. In the middle is a market that we have now created called Solo Drive. It's a purpose-built solution for the modern urban environment. Excuse me. This is also a purpose-built solution for commercial applications and fleet and car share. This is all about the minimalist movement. You know, this is also a great solution. If we look at it now during these times of COVID and getting into public transit, which can be very difficult, this is the perfect solution to have a single seat vehicle where you're in control of your own space and you don't have to worry about anybody else's germs. So this is all about creating a solo ecosystem where you're able to use the solo for not only for urban commuter challenges, but also for commercial applications. So how did we get to the solo? The solo evolved in 2015, where ElectraMeccanica was incorporated. And during that time, we built 64 prototypes. They were hand-built out of our facility just outside of Vancouver, where there's currently 24 in circulation. It's been in circulation for well over 3 years, where the first one was birthed in 2017 of September. Last year in 2019, we then had 50 pre-production solos manufactured at our strategic partners facility with Zhongshan. These were designed for further validation and for testing. This year, in 2020, is where the production solo will be coming out. We will be starting production during late summer of this year. The solos will be manufactured at our dedicated facility by Zhongshan. This is truly a monumental milestone for ElectraMeccanica, where it's finally ready to see the dream and the vision that started in 2015 all coming into fruition in these coming weeks. So we're extremely excited about where we are with the solo and where we're going to be, which then leads us to what's actually going to be in the production solo. So our production solo can do 0 to 60 in about 10 seconds. It has a top speed of just over 80 miles per hour. It's got a range of 100 miles. It's got Bluetooth in there. It's got heated seats. It's got rear view mirrors. The MSRP is about $18,500 US. And in addition to all this, we've done additional safety testing that's not required and beyond what's required for a vehicle of this class to ensure that we've got safety and reliability and drivability and driving comfort included in there. So some of the aspects in terms of what we did was we put an electronic power steering, torque limited control for stability. We've got triple side protection. We've got front and rear crumple zone protection. We've got a roll bar. We've also got a wider wheelbase for enhanced drivability. The Solo, as we see it, is the most economical electric vehicle out there compared to other vehicles that are there. We feel that we've got an advantage over most of our competitors in what we are offering. And if we take a look at the next slide, which is all about the true cost of ownership over 5 years, and you compare it to other EVs, such as the Mini, the Nissan Leaf, the Chevy Bolt, and Tesla Model 3, you can see that there's a significant difference in terms of the costs that we've also put in there, such as insurance, maintenance, taxes, etc. You know, this at the bottom there, you can see that the Solo is premium over other vehicles, ranging from 40 to about 96% less costly to own. And given all the EVs that are out there, there is definitely a growth in the EV sector as well as in the rideshare sector. So in 2018, global EV sales totaled 2.1 million. In that same year, in 2018, the U.S. increased its sales of EVs by 81%. Bloomberg also predicts that by 2040, electric vehicles will account for 30% of all new vehicle sales. And California is still known as the largest consumer of electric vehicles. They essentially have 50% of all electric vehicle sales are coming out of California. And another key point to take note of in this statistic is that today's EV account for 1.8% of the shared mobility fleet. And this is actually going to grow by 80 to 80% by 2040. So what will the Solo be able to do? You know, what we look at right now is that so much of what we do is actually solo. Whether you're doing, going for a coffee, or you're going to go work out, or you're going to go run errands, all this is done as a solo. So when you look at this, we look at the challenges that urban drivers are actually facing. So 76% of the time, as I was mentioning earlier on, people commute by themselves, which means that if you have a regular sized vehicle, you're actually leaving about 3 to 5 seats empty. By having the Solo, you're actually going to lower your operational costs than the traditional vehicle, which we compared earlier on in this presentation to other EVs. But again, the cost of ownership to own a Solo is significantly less than others. And this is all about being a part of this Solo revolution that you're seeing. And it's all about being part of this environmentally friendly, a cool, a hip, and a purpose-built Solo drive ecosystem. This is all about the mindset and not about the demographics. It's that, again, that minimalist movement that we're all heading towards. And when you look at this slide, this actually captures what we're talking about when it comes to the Solo ecosystem. It's an ideal solution for multiple applications. By looking at this slide, you've got 3 segments, 2 of which are commercial. We have Solo Drive, which is for your daily commuting for urban drivers and commuters. We have the Solo Utility, which is for deliveries, fleets, and other utility applications. For example, Uber Eats, Amazon, Domino's, DHL, anything that you can imagine, pharmaceutical deliveries. And then we have Solo Share, which is for shared mobility, like a Zipcar, Car2Go, EVO, university campuses, tech campuses, hotels, etc. You know, this is all about the Solo ecosystem. It's about transportation of the future. You don't need the large vehicles to do what you need to do on a daily basis. That's why this Solo can be used for multiple uses, and the uses are unlimited. So again, in order to keep our costs down, we have an asset-light manufacturing model. So we as a company decided to outsource the commercialization of our Solos to keep the CapEx cost low, which again is very different from a lot of the traditional EV companies or other car companies where your capital expenditures are going to be high. They're in the tens of millions on a monthly basis, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So we thought about why reinvent the wheel? Why not partner up with someone so that our CapEx is kept low? Our manufacturing partner is Zhongshan, who owns roughly about 4% beneficial ownership in our company. Zhongshan is known as the largest motorcycle engine manufacturer in the world. They produce over 2 million motorcycles a year, and they maintain over 50 joint ventures worldwide. Our Solo factory is located in Chongqing. ElectraMeccanica's strategic partnership with Zhongshan significantly mitigates production risk, and it lowers our CapEx. And I was talking about earlier about our launch strategy and how we're rolling this out. So we are focused on rolling out the Solos this year, starting with deliveries in LA, followed by a broader West Coast delivery plan. We have an aggressive strategic marketing and advertising plan that focuses on this rollout. Our initial service and distribution center that's located in Studio City, LA, will be receiving the delivery of these vehicles. We also have kiosks in Beverly Hills Century City Mall and as well as in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're currently setting up retail kiosks in Sherman Oaks, California, and just outside of Portland, Oregon. The reason we started out with LA first is because stats have shown that LA is the leading location for EV adoption. It actually has about 4.6 million daily commuters in LA with an average of 30-minute drive each way. The LA store will receive the deliveries this fall as we start production in the coming weeks. As a true global vehicle, the Solo will ultimately be available throughout the world and with key markets in Europe and Southeast Asia as we have a future iteration of the Solo. And to elaborate on that launch strategy, a little bit more about the marketing advertising aspect is that we've developed an exciting and integrated brand identity that reflects a forward-thinking, dynamic, growth-oriented electric vehicle company. So our campaigns essentially will include about building the awareness through a digital marketing campaign, through influencers, through a change in our website, billboards, print, and traditional media advertisements. The two firms that we're currently working with, one on the public relations side is RNC PMK, who handles all our public relations. And then on all the digital marketing and advertising initiatives, we're working with Narrative Media Group, and they're both based out of LA. So in terms of getting the sales and getting the awareness and everything else out there, we have a path to how we're going to profit. There's 3 ways in how we're going to be reaching our profitability. Firstly, we're going to be ramping up production volumes. So as volumes ramp up, we will reduce the overhead and we'll be able to recover some of those costs. We'll be able to also leverage buying power from suppliers to gain more favorable pricing as we increase the production volume. And along with that is enhancing manufacturing efficiencies and increased automation. The second way to path to profitability that we see and envision is to establish a U.S. assembly and research and development facility through this initiative that we've done with BDO. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but we just had a press release out this morning where we have identified 3 finalists, which is Arizona, Florida, and Tennessee. The reason for building this U.S. assembly facility is to avoid tariffs through a local assembly of a knockdown kit that we would get from Zhongshan. We would also be able to capture benefits from logistical efficiencies and also limit our risk when it comes to the global supply chain. The third way that we're looking to reach profitability is this continued development of our solo. What that means is that it's about enhancing the performance and focusing on cost improvement initiatives, where we will be able to reduce our bill of materials and the future iteration of the solo. So with that path to profitability, we've got information on our company stock and financials. So our Q2 results will be released during the middle of August. Cash at the end of Q2 was just over $51.1 million. Issued and outstanding, it was around 64.1 million shares, with fully diluted at 96 million shares. We have approximately 75 employees at the end of Q2. Everything that we've done to this day has been done with zero debt. And so we're quite proud of that as an organization. The beneficial ownership at the end of Q2 was approximately 28%. And more significantly is what we've done over this last quarter. We've been able to de-risk the company with a much stronger balance sheet. Some other additional items to note is that we've got Freedom Financial, who will be doing all the lending for all the customers that require financing. We have 5 national insurance companies that insure the solo, such as Allstate, Progressive, AAA, Foremost, and Farmers. We have 3 catalysts going forward. We're in talks with strategic partners. We're working on our business relationships, which have a significant part in this space. And the biggest one of all of these 3 catalysts is that we're transitioning from a pre-production company to a production company in the coming weeks. This is a major milestone for us and for the rest of the organization, where this did truly start as a dream and a vision about 5 years ago. And we will now be able to see that come to light very, very soon. So again, this is a very, very exciting time for ElectraMeccanica. In terms of some key takeaways in this presentation is that we are really revolutionizing and changing the map when it comes to transportation. This is a monumental time for ElectraMeccanica. We see ourselves as the future. We are the solo revolution, and we're here to stay. We are incomparable when it comes to our product. We've developed a solo ecosystem, which includes solo drive, solo utility, and solo share. We're incomparable because of the way that we produce the solo. It's an asset-light model. And we're incomparable, thirdly, in how we're launching the solo. It's being done through a strategic plan, through an aggressive marketing and advertising strategy, along with the kiosk store. We have strong macroeconomic tailwinds with a large and rapidly growing EV market. We've got a highly experienced management team. We are shifting the dynamic of the company from going as a pre-production to a production company in the coming weeks. We are the future, and we're here to stay. In closing, I would like to thank you all for joining me today. Please stay safe and healthy, and we welcome you to the Solo Revolution. Thank you.
This concludes today's webcast. You may disconnect at this time. Thank you for your participation.